The King's Son and the Three Swans, a Serbian fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a king who had a son. As this son grew up, he went hunting and got lost in the forest. He wandered through the forest until he came to another kingdom. In this kingdom, he found a hut in a mountain, and inside the hut, an old man with white hair down to the ground and a beard to his belt. When the king's son stood before the old man, he greeted him. "God bless you, old man." The old man replied, "God help you, my son. Where do you come from?" The king's son said, "I am the son of the king. I went hunting in the forest and got lost, so now I am here." The old man asked, "Would you like to work for me?" The king's son replied, "Yes, I would." The old man said, "Good. You will work for me for 3 years. If you serve me faithfully during this time, I will give you a wife. If not, I will cut off your head." The king's son agreed. The next day, the old man gave him a whip and told him to go around the lake and work there. In the evening, the old man asked, "Have you served me faithfully?" The king's son replied, "Yes, I have." The old man asked further, "What did you see at the lake?" The king's son said, "I saw nothing." The old man said, "Good." The next morning, the old man again commanded the king's son to go around the lake with the whip. At noon, 3 white swans came flying. They took off their shirts, bathed in the lake, dressed again, and flew away. In the evening, the king's son said to the old man, "Good evening, old man." The old man asked, "Have you served me faithfully?" The king's son replied, "Yes, I have." The old man asked further, "What did you see at the lake?" The king's son said, "I saw 3 white swans." The old man asked further, "What else did you see?" The king's son replied, "I saw them take off their white shirts and leave them on the shore. Then they went into the water and bathed. After that, they dressed again and flew away." The old man said, "Good." The next morning, the old man said to the king's son, "Today is the 3rd year. When the 3 swans come and bathe and take off their shirts, take all 3 shirts and bring them to me." The king's son took the whip and went around the lake again. At noon, the 3 beautiful white swans came again. They took off their shirts and bathed in the lake. The king's son ran to the shirts, took all 3, and ran to the old man. The 3 swans transformed into 3 beautiful girls. They begged the old man for their shirts back. The old man returned 2 of their shirts, but kept the most beautiful one. He took the girl for the king's son, gave him the shirt, and said, "Here is the shirt of the swan girl and countless treasures. Keep the shirt well away from your wife, for if she finds it, she will put it on and fly away. Then you will never see her again. If you return to me, I will cut off your head." The king's son took his wife by the hand, the goods on his back, and the shirt in his lap. The old man set them on horses, and the horses led them out of the forest. So the king's son arrived in his father's city very late in the evening. He could not enter the city and sought refuge in an earthen house on the outskirts. When he arrived there, he heard loud conversations inside. He entered the room with his wife and saw people sitting at the table, eating, drinking, and chatting. His father, the king, was also there. The king immediately recognized his son and was overjoyed to see him. The son asked, "What are you doing here, father?" The king replied, "I have just come here too, looking for you. I've spent all my wealth on this journey." The king's son pulled out the goods that the old man had given him and asked, "Will this be enough, father?" The king said, "Yes, that will be enough." The king's son said, "Good." They went home, and the son told his parents about his time with the old man and how he got married. He gave his mother the shirt and told her to hide it from his wife, because if she found it, she would put it on, fly away, and he would never see her again. One day, the king's son went hunting again, and his wife stayed at home with her mother-in-law. She repeatedly asked her mother-in-law to give her the shirt. "Give me the shirt, mother. I will not leave the house. I just want to wear it to look more beautiful." Finally, the mother-in-law gave in and gave her the shirt. As soon as she put it on, she transformed into a swan and said, "Farewell, mother. Find me on the glass mountain." Then she flew out the window. When the king's son came home in the evening, his mother told him how his wife had begged for the shirt and how after she got it, she flew out the window and disappeared. The king's son was very sad. He mounted the old man's horse and went to him, but he pretended to be a stranger, because if he revealed himself as the one the old man knew, the old man would cut off his head. When he stood before the old man, he said, "God bless you, old man." The old man replied, "God help you, my son, but what brings you here?" The king's son said, "I have come to ask you where the glass mountain is." The old man replied, "My son, I do not know, but I am the master of the 32 winds. If there is such a glass mountain in the world, they will take you there." The old woman then said, "You will go to this mountain and transfer him to the backside of the glass mountain." The prince took a pickaxe and a spade and went to the mountain. He started digging. How could he complete this task in one day? He sat down, began to cry, and eventually fell asleep crying. At noon, a child brought him food, but he said, "I will not eat from you," and sent the child away. Shortly after, his wife came with food and told him, "Just eat, then lie down and sleep. In the evening, when you return and the old woman asks if you have completed your task, answer angrily, 'Yes,' and quickly demand food, saying you are so hungry you could eat her." The prince did as he was told. They ate and went to sleep. In the morning, the old woman ordered him, "Today you will cut down the entire forest on this mountain and stack the logs." The prince took an axe and went to the forest. By noon, he had only cut down 3 trees. The same child brought him lunch, but he refused and said, "I do not need you." The child left, and his wife came to bring him lunch. After eating, he lay down to sleep. The swan girl gathered all the other swan girls. They harvested the grain, brought it to the barn, and asked the winds to thresh the grain with their horses. In a short time, the winds had threshed, sifted, and ground the grain. As the sun set, the prince got up and saw that everything was done. He said to the old woman, "Good evening, grandmother. I have done everything. Let the girls fetch the flour and bake a big bread." The grandmother was truly frightened. She blew in a horn and gathered the swan girls and ordered them to fetch the flour and bake a bread. The prince's wife gave him a sign and said, "I have helped you everywhere, but tonight I cannot help you. You will suffer a little, but do not be afraid. The old woman will lock you in a stable where there are horses, oxen, and people. They will attack you, but you should not fear and fight back." After dinner, the old woman told the prince, "Tonight you will guard the stable. If all the animals are not there in the morning, you will be beheaded. But if everything is in order, you will get a horse, the bread, and your swan wife." He went to the stable, and at midnight the animals attacked him, but he fought back, and after a while they gave up. In the morning, the prince came to the hut and shouted, "Good morning, grandmother. Why do you not open the door?"
The old woman was scared and thought, "He is stronger and angrier than I am. I should let him go before he kills me." She opened the door, and the prince shouted at her, "Have you baked the bread?" She nodded and said, "Yes." He said, "Good, let me go." The old woman brought the bread and showed him the horses to choose one. His wife gave him a hint, and he chose the ugliest 2 horses. But these horses were magical. They rode away, took the bread, and lived happily in their kingdom.